Hey, y'all. In this episode, we're talking about what it really means to go through some shit and come out the other side stronger for it. Life doesn't care about your schedule, when things break down, cars, careers, relationships, even your sense of self. The question isn't if you'll hit those moments, it's how you show up when they hit. We share some hard personal stories in this one, things that didn't go according to plan, and that gut punch that follows. But more importantly, Greg and I unpacked how to deal with it, how to build grit, and why learning from your struggles is the real flex in life. So if you're in the middle of it right now, overwhelmed, stuck, stressed out, this one's for you. Let's talk about resilience, real life, and how to stop carrying those bricks in that backpack. All right, let's get into it. What's happening, man?
What's up, dude?
There's a lot of stuff going on.
There is a lot of stuff going on.
Do we start with I don't even know where to start.
I don't either.
You wanted to talk about when things go wrong.
Yeah.
Can we just address the how you shouldn't use Signal for it?
That's right.
Immediate war plans.
That's right.
But I don't want to pick on that because this isn't a political podcast, but like, have you ever done that? Have you ever sent someone the wrong email or texted someone the wrong stuff?
Without a doubt. Luckily, it was nothing bad or sensitive.
No, have you ever done it when it's really bad?
No, hell no.
No?
No. I honestly, I just try to keep if you've got something really bad to deal with, you probably shouldn't be documenting it.
Yeah.
Like murder 101. Don't write it down.
I have it worked out well, but I have sent someone. I thought I was sending someone else a text, and it was about someone else, about how much of a complete jerk this person was, and we had to deal with it.
That sounds like Gene.
But I sent it to the person.
No, you didn't.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck.
And they were like, "Oh no!" I was like, "Well, I guess we're talking about this right now." Actually, it worked out.
That is so passive aggressive. That is extreme passive aggressive.
It was not on purpose. It was like legitimately an accident.
Says him.
I don't think I'm passive aggressive. I can be though.
Oh, some days I am.
I'm passive depressive.
Passive depressive. Oh my God. Okay. So the world is like, I don't know, on fire.
It always feels like that though.
And it always feels like that.
Yeah.
And, lots of people are stressed out. Lots of people have a good reason to be stressed out. Money stress, or they've lost their job at a national park. What the fuck is wrong with all of you people? It is. Those are treasures, for God's sakes.
I don't get that one.
I don't either. Whatever. We're a political podcast.
Yeah, but I think it kind of goes beyond politics though. It's just, I guess it's political.
No, it's everything's political these days.
Yeah.
So anyway,
that does suck.
There's a lot of shit going on, and we've all been going through it.
Yeah.
So we want to talk about this today, y'all. We want to talk about going through the shit.
Yeah.
How to navigate that. What you should how to get out of it and get to the other side of it, and in general, just I want to celebrate people that have gone through some shit and have come out on the other side.
Yeah.
I found myself surrounded by a lot of stuff recently, stuff that's been happening in my life and all kinds of other stuff. So we're going to start with a story today.
Story time.
So this is a story about being in the muck. So
back in Nam.
So I have a mother. She is a wonderful human. Mom, love you. I'm going to tell this story. Don't hate me. And she's 75 and she's been living independently for years. She lost her second husband probably about 8 years ago, and then retired right after that. It's a big change, right? Like lots of the two main things that we do in our lives, she lost or transitioned out of within a 2-year period. And, we never had, we didn't have much growing up. My mom sort of did the single mom thing, raising 3 older children, and, did the best she could. And she's like that silent strong.
Mm-hmm.
And, that's a lot to go through.
Yeah.
So, as she has gotten older, right, some things work better, some things work less good. And, she loves seeing her kids. And, we're in Iowa, we're in Georgia, and we're in South Carolina. And she is always on a plane or driving around in her little car with her dog, her 100-pound freaking pit bull dog.
Oh, man.
It's hilarious. Dog weighs more than she does. And she's just cruising around, seeing her kids. And, so she was coming down to South Carolina to join us for a weekend. My son Pascal had a big tournament. They crushed it. They won the whole thing. It was incredible. But here's the story, y'all. And this is I'm just going to give you the short version. And I bet most of you out there are going to be like, oh my God.
I was.
And the rest of you will be like, that was me last week. I feel seen. So she's driving an old car. It's got 230,000 miles on it. It works just fine. But on her way down to South Carolina, the car died on her 2.5 hours away on the side of the road at night.
Damn.
And nobody stopped. Not a single car stopped for her. She called me. I was like, all right, you stay put. She's got a dog in the car. It's getting dark. It's not in it's like in the middle of the highway, not near a city. So I drive 2.5 hours to get her. We sit there and wait for the tow truck for 3 hours. And then I drove her back to Columbia. We get home at 1 a.m. And then we find out that car is dead. It's dead. It's going to cost 3 times more to fix it than it is worth.
Oh man. You left out the most important part of that story.
What?
Where you just bought it.
No. You just ruined everything.
Oh, I did not.
You suck.
Sorry.
But they won't understand. So okay. So she's with us. We do the soccer thing. We find out the car is dead. And, and so Greg jumps into what I have learned is the best way for me to handle stress. And that is problem solving.
Yeah.
I get to work on the problem.
You are good at problem solving.
I am good. I used to not be. I used to sort of I used to freeze when I had to tackle things like that. But I think, being self-employed and doing this for 15 years, you just get used to problems.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I get into car buying mode, right? We figure out what we want, what features, blah, blah, blah. We got to figure out how to pay for the damn thing because we weren't ready for this. So we cobble together some cash from the SIBs. We test drive cars in Columbia. We look all around the Southeast to find that one. We find one. And y'all, and if you've bought a car recently, sure, you can do the little one touch button Carvana thing, but that's not how we roll. And we wanted to make sure we got a really good deal.
Yeah.
So I spent hours of my life. I mean, I probably got 12 hours of work done that week. The rest of it was dealing with my mom and her sort of stuff and finding a car. So we find a car and my mom is shaken up already. She is vibrant and alive and strong, but getting older and she can't handle stress as much.
Right.
So we find our car. My brother's involved. My sister's involved. We're all involved in it.
Wow.
And we find one.
Thing.
Yeah. Cool. I mean, we all had to kind of pull the cash together.
Cool.
And we were like, we need to get her a car that's going to last her until she's done driving.
Right.
She's 75. That can't be more than 10 years. Please, God.
Probably not 10, but holy shit.
So we find one down in Summerville, South Carolina, right outside of Charleston, beautiful city for those that haven't visited. And so, I'm running the companies, doing the work, dealing with, what is a stressful situation at home because we have a small house. And I cram in a trip down to Summerville with my mom to test drive this car and we buy it. So all of that is fairly normal, right? You just, I didn't have time for it and I was stressed out about it, to be honest. I was trying to handle it the best I could. So then we get down there and we buy this car. And this is when, the universe, you have to laugh because the universe is just saying, we're going to make it a little bit harder and you're just going to have to suck it up. 1 hour after negotiating for and buying a $12,000 car, a lot of money for our family, good car for my mom. We are heading back. There's construction all up and down that, I-26. And 45 minutes after we drive it off the lot, she totals it. She is not injured. She is fine. She's emotionally a wreck, but she sort of shreds a merge right sign, tears up the entire left side of the car. She's so shaken up, she can't even get out. She can't text. She can't even talk on the phone.
Yeah.
Thank God I was there. I was trailing. I was in front of her, actually. And, so I do the thing. I pull over.
Did you see it?
I did see it in my review.
Oof.
And it was not her fault. It was poor construction lighting.
Yeah.
And literally this merge right sign was the trailer hitched to it. They drag it around, right? They was sticking out in the only lane available. I almost hit it. I just thankfully was paying enough attention to swerve around it.
Yeah.
She hit it and 2 other cars hit it behind her.
Holy shit.
So it was a big thing. She could not function. And rightly so. It was scary as shit.
Yeah, it would probably scare the shit out of me.
We stay on that side of that road waiting for highway patrol, construction company, supervisor, all this stuff. Have the car towed from Somerville to Columbia. We get home at 2 a.m. So I had just spent 30 hours plus helping my mom with the first car, getting her safe, figuring out how to buy her a second car, getting that, and then figuring out what to do with this new car that has been shredded. And I will be very honest with you, man. I have a very high threshold for tolerance for pain, suffering, and stress. I fucking lost it.
Yeah, that would top it off.
I lost it for just a couple of minutes.
That's all?
To myself, and then I had to get back to the business of taking care of my mom.
Yeah.
So this is the world. This is life. This is what it just happens all the time. And so I just want to tell that story, and hopefully this is something that resonates with other folks that are dealing with older or aging parents that are going through some shit. Listen, I wish I could tell you that it's going to stop. It's probably not.
No.
And so I think the best thing that we can explore and talk about is how we deal with it as we're in it, and how we can change the way we look at obstacles, struggle, stress, strife, whatever you want to call it, on the other side of it. So
damn,
sucked. It sucked a lot. And, this happens all the time.
Yeah.
I think, it's not like somebody might be like, holy shit, that's crazy. Who hates you up there? And I'm like, nobody.
Yeah, I don't think you can get into thinking about the world that way.
Yeah.
Like, you can't get into thinking that, like, the universe is out to get you.
I think that actually, is a way to somehow cosmically invite a whole bunch more shit into your life.
That's the thing. Like, you ever, I don't use this analogy, it's just popped in my head. You ever bought a new car? But like, you ever got something like a new car, and then all of a sudden you see hundreds of the same car?
Yeah.
But I think that's because you're now aware of it and you're looking for it. So if you're like, oh, the universe is out to get me, you will find problems in everything around you.
It's funny that outlook, that perspective, I think is applicable to everything.
Yeah, man.
Like, business sucks right now, man. Nobody wants to spend any money. We haven't brought any clients on, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
You are expecting to fail. And so you probably will. Same thing with relationships.
I think so.
Everybody has problems.
You're going to see problems in everything.
But if all you look at, if all you're looking for, all you're waiting for are those moments where you get let down by your partner, that is all you're going to see.
That's all you'll see.
There's we're like all over the place, but there's a really good book called Fight Right that my wife and I have been reading. It's by the Gottmans. They run this love lab, which is exactly what it sounds like.
Meow.
And they, they're older, and they've been doing this for like 50 years. Yeah. And they figured out that, mindset and the act of being positive were the only things that determined the success or failure of a marriage. It wasn't fighting style. It wasn't whether y'all were passive or active and, meet in the middle, or y'all got super passionate and yelled all the time. None of that shit mattered. What mattered was the number of positive comments you make to your partner relative to the number of negative ones.
Interesting.
It's fascinating. It really is fascinating to think about. But I don't think you can fake it through that. I think you have to develop that sense of this thing sucks.
Yeah.
It's not going to suck forever. And I'm going to figure out how to do the best that I can in the suck.
Right. That's something that I always when things aren't going right, I always say that, like, this is just temporary. Like, it's not going to last forever.
Yeah.
You know, I had a mentor that I kept for a long time. I haven't really talked to him past couple of years, but Coach Divine is a retired SEAL, wrote The Way of the SEAL, and that's kind of how I came to know him through the book. And then I literally paid for him to be my mentor for a while. But he would, when a SEAL says it, it's always like, he's like, "You still breathing?" Like, "Yeah." He's like, "Well, then you can still fight." But just thinking about that, like when you're in the middle of that, like, this will pass. Like, this is just a thing I have to deal with right now, and then it'll pass. Right. And it's like we don't take enough advantage of the good times. You know, like that's where I'm at in my life, is trying to really zero in on the times when things are good and it's nice. And it might also be because, both my kids, they're older. One's 22, one's 18. They don't, for the most part of their lives now, they don't live in the house. They're at school more than they're at home. So when they're home, I try to like really soak in time with them, because I know that, like, if I don't focus on that time, well, it's, we're at the end of that cycle
Yeah.
of, where they're going to be with us all the time.
Yeah.
When they're little, you're like, "Could you please go outside for a little while?" But we're at the end of that cycle. So like, I really want to focus on that time.
Yeah.
And it helps me overlook all the stupid shit they do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I know that you could be a parent where you're just like, "Oh, that boy's a fuck up. He's like always doing dumb shit," and it's like, well, if that's my attitude, I'm gonna only see all the negative,
Yeah.
stupid things that they do.
You've opened that doorway, that pathway from your eyes to your brain to your heart.
I think it's neurological.
Yeah.
I really think it is.
I think that there's so much to learn in the struggle. I know we talked about that before. We've done a couple of resiliency episodes. I don't think that is this. I think it's part of it, but
I think we need it more now than we have ever needed it. Honestly.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I mean, I think
and that's
people's coping mechanisms are just not equipped
and it's
to
crazy
handle this chronic stress that our current political and otherwise environment has created. I mean, and the thing is this, like, I think we can get through a lot of things, painful or otherwise, when we know that when we can, like, the light at the end of the tunnel, like when you know there's an end in mind. I think people lose their shit.
Oh yeah.
And like the fabric of like our personalities and our society breaks down when people don't see an end.
Yeah.
And I hope that we never get to that point.
Yeah.
The other thing, as we were thinking about this episode today, that has just really, through my struggles and now through working with both employees and like clients and coaching clients and just colleagues, I fucking love working with people that have been through some shit. And I know that sounds super counterintuitive.
No, it doesn't.
And we need to define that, because it can't just be a person that just careens from one crisis to the next. But
yeah, because that could be your personality too.
We have a member on our team here at SoCo that started as like an op support person, and if you follow us, you know who this person is, who has seen a lot of life at a young age and been through some really difficult things. And I wrote I've got a blog post coming out about this a little bit, but this idea that I think there are only really two kinds of people when it comes to like how they handle adversity. You've got the backpackers, right? They carry that shit around in a backpack full of bricks for most of their lives. It weighs them down. It makes it hard for them to move forward. If you've ever rucked, it's harder with weight.
Yeah.
And they're the backpackers. This has become a permanent part of their story. And it is a cycle that they, for whatever reason, have not been able to get out of, because they continue to carry those bricks. And then I think, so that's the backpackers. I think there's also the transformers. Those are the people that have been through some stuff. And as a result of that, have realized something unique or different about their lives. This team member has seen some stuff, but what it has done for her is it has showed her the way. And she is more passionate, more fired up, has a bigger vision for her life, knows what
That's
failure
awesome.
is, knows what struggle is, knows that she never wants to go back to that. And so she is on a fucking mission.
That's cool.
And I have worked with people like that before, not a lot though. And it is such an amazing thing. It's the difference between I've been through some stuff
Yeah.
and someone who's
Well,
like, I have experienced trauma in my life and I am in a better place because of it, because I have learned and grown and I know what it looks like and I know how to avoid it. And I'm not saying it's not going to happen again, but I am better equipped to handle it the next time it comes around. I don't think that I think I would rather work with people that have been through some shit all day long rather than someone who has gotten to where they've gotten to because of access and privilege. I don't blame them for having access and privilege. Those are advantages that few of us have.
Right.
But there is just something incredibly strong about someone who has been through some things and survived it.
Yeah.
And not just survived it, but came out on the other side stronger and better. This is what you do. I mean, this is what you do to the people that you work with. Like your Warrior Fitness clients, your Warrior Mindset followers, all, I mean, y'all are talking about this regularly, and it is just, not only does it make for great stories.
Yeah, they're cool stories,
but you can tell the difference in people and how they respond to crises.
Yeah.
If they've been through it and they've learned and they've grown, it's just a magical thing to see. So anyway,
100%.
I've been thinking about this so much more now because we're thinking about hiring a couple of folks, and we've got some opportunities at Period 3, and we've been talking a little bit about what kind of people do we want? Like, what are our values? What do we stand for? And what do these other people need to have, like from a personality and characteristic standpoint, to like make it here, to fit in really well? Because we're small and we can't afford to hire and then for it not to work out. And so I've had to think about this a lot more. And I don't have it all figured out, but this one is definitive. I want to work with people who have been through some stuff and have figured out how to overcome those things. Those people I want to go into battle with.
Those are vets, man. Like, not the military vets. I mean, those are people that have been around a while. That's what you're talking about. And it's not necessarily just numerical age. You know what I mean? It's life age. There's a big difference.
That is a say that again. What you just said?
Experience doesn't necessarily mean numerical age. I mean, experience is life age. It's how much life have you experienced. And you can be a 60-year-old person and have been kind of, whether you've done it to yourself or other people have done it for you, kind of sheltered almost, or protected. You can be a protected person. You know what I mean? And some people protect themselves. They don't take risks of any size. They kind of do things safe, and that's where they are. And, oftentimes when big things happen to those people, it's like they get crushed.
They get crushed. And they can't recover in a lot of cases. And this is addiction. This is mental health.
Whatever it is.
Yeah. I mean, they talk a lot about like kids, young kids, when they first enter the school system, like you're going to get sick a lot, blah, 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 blah. I mean, it is true. Right. But in getting sick, that is how they begin to build, immunity and the body's resiliency and the ability to heal and recover from injuries and from illnesses. And I think that analogy for me feels really true for a lot of parts of life. Now, I am not saying bring on your struggles. Like I'm not saying bring it. Like I'm not standing like with my shirt off, like in a thunderstorm with like a rod in my hand saying, bring it.
No.
And I want to acknowledge that some people have been through things that are nearly impossible to recover from. And so I don't want to make light of those situations either, but man, there has to be a way for us to figure out how to learn something from these things when they happen.
Yeah.
And I'd be interested in just your perspective on this. I mean, you intentionally put yourself in situations where there are obstacles, struggles, strife, not like, hey, let me go start a fight in the dark alley, but
Mm-hmm.
you have challenged yourself beyond where most people have. And I'm interested in that perspective. Why? And then what tips maybe you have for folks that are going through some things on how to experience it in the moment, how to move forward and past it, and how to grow from it.
Mm-hmm. So where do we start? So how do we get people to develop grit?
Sure.
How do we develop grit? Well, in the military, not everything's analog to the military, but I am a martial artist. Martial means, military in a way, right? We do that through exposing ourselves. I just wrote an article about this too. The scientific term is called hormesis.
Hormesis.
Yeah, there's a scientific term for it. It's the same thing you were just talking about. You put your kids in school and they start getting sick, but then by the time they're like in middle school, they kind of aren't getting sick every week,
Right.
right? You're being exposed a little bit over time. I mean, if you expose them to everything at once, they probably not make it, but over time you build resilience, like physical resilience, whatever that is. When I coach people, we try to do that a little bit at a time. And maybe for some people it's physical, you need to expose yourself to physically demanding things. I've known people that couldn't work a solid 8 hours a day. I've had employees in the past that couldn't make it through a full day.
Why?
They had to take breaks or like whatever it is, but because maybe they were new, if I think back, yeah, it was because they were newly employed. They'd never experienced like the working world, so it's like, well, let me break it to you. We got a lot of shit to do,
Yeah.
like buckle up. We got a lot of work to do. So I don't know where I'm going with that other than like, I think it's drastically important that we do that. Some people kind of naturally carry grit. I think some people do.
Yeah.
You can kind of see, you can even see it in like, if you think back to like when you were in high school and stuff, you can like those people were tough,
Yeah.
mentally, whatever. Maybe
Yeah.
maybe their family, like, and you never know what someone's going through, right? Maybe like they dealt with a lot of shit at home.
Yeah.
So they're just able to cope with stuff.
But it's that same idea of hormesis. It just happened for them earlier than others.
Yeah.
And
so what do you do?
Unfortunately, not intentionally.
And what do you do when it like didn't happen? Like, how do you develop it? Well, one of the things there's, this is what everyone's sort of talking about when you look at Instagram and you look for inspiration. How many like morning routine tech bro like things have you seen where they're like, start with a cold shower, drink 10 gallons of water, and go, trade Bitcoin and then get on the treadmill, like all these things. This is what they're getting at though. Like I'm joking about it, but like the cold shower thing, that's one. Like you want to like descript that, like the cold shower. Like, I don't know that there's any real physical like things that come from it. Like you're not molecularly changing yourself to be tougher, but I think mentally you might be, and that might be kind of extreme. I know that's like a crazy bro thing to say, is like get a cold shower, but we're just exposing ourselves to things that make us uncomfortable.
So you're talking about before something bad happens to you, build up your immunity, your resilience,
little bit,
that you can respond more effectively.
Yeah.
Whether it's cold showers or physical challenges, or or for example, making sure your children are working so that they understand the value of money and hard work. And so like when they have to enter the real world, and go work for the design studio that has to produce, they're not like a deer in headlights because they've never done real work.
Yeah, 100%. So like it's not just physical. I mean, cold showers, fasting. These are all things you're going to see on Instagram and stuff. But what about like psychological stress, which is really what we're talking about? How do you expose yourself to psychological stress on a small scale, so you're not just like purposely fucking your life up so you can fix it again? That's not what I'm talking about.
Great question.
That's not what I'm talking about. So things like public speaking,
Okay.
right? We all know how we feel before we like speak, even if it's a group of like 5 people, like in a meeting, and you're like, oh shit, I got to talk to like 5 people here about an important thing. Like, don't hide from that, right? Um, in the martial arts, there's a realm of like, this is more physical, but like sparring,
Yeah.
right? Sparring doesn't necessarily mean you beating the shit out of each other. It's the mental stress of like, I gotta go do this thing.
Like
That's
there is a
very
fist coming
uncomfortable.
at me or an
Yeah.
angry person. Like that's just dress rehearsal for a real life scenario.
Yep. Or what about whenever there's a decision you have to make, right? But you keep putting it off.
Yeah.
Why do you keep putting it off? Because you don't want the psychological stress of having to deal with it.
Yeah.
Well, just do the things you have to do to put yourself in a comfortable position so you can think about that thing and make a decision, right? And I know that sounds super simple. And I'm not talking about like life-changing decisions. I'm just talking about like, oh, there's a bill and I'm just going to open that tomorrow.
Yeah.
I
No,
mean,
no,
we
no, no.
do
Yeah.
those little
Yeah.
things, but all that is cumulative and
Yeah.
it stacks up. We have a practice in our karate practice. It's called Kihon. It's basics. And it's just doing basic things. But we put ourselves in this position. It's almost like a failure reward scenario, right? So the way it works is there's, I don't know, 20, 27 different basic things that we do. Like maybe it's a punch, a block, a certain type of way, put our foot in a certain place. Our eyes are fixed on a certain point. And we go, and someone stands in front of the class and they call out, do this thing. Now do that thing. Now, it's almost like an advanced form of Simon Says, almost. If you think about the game Simon Says.
Taking it back, brother.
But the thing is, every time you make a mistake, the person who's calling out in class will if they see you, they're like, you made a mistake, push-ups. And you have to do 10 or 20 push-ups. You have to stop what you're doing, drop and do 10, 20 push-ups. And then whenever you're done, you get back up, resume exactly where you were and continue. Or you have to have the integrity to do it yourself. Like they didn't see me, but I know I was wrong and I do it. So the test is, if they don't see you, will you do it? Will you because push-ups suck, and let's face it, and these sessions are like 10 minutes, 15 minutes long. During that time, I suck at basics, so I wind up doing like 100 push-ups inside of like 5 minutes. But like, will you do the push-ups? And after 10 or 20, they start to hurt.
Yeah.
Will you like let something go? Like, will you lower your own self-imposed level of quality of your performance to not do them? Will you wait for that person to make you do them? Right. And so what we're doing is we're inoculating ourselves to performance issues, to decision-making issues, and to holding ourselves to our own standard issues. Right. And I think that's what a lot of this stuff comes down to. Right. Like your mom was in an accident. You saw it happen. You flipped out for a little bit. But what was it that you were like, okay, like, I got to deal with this. Here's what we're going to do. And then you're probably standing on the side of the road. Like, we're doing this, we're doing that.
Yeah.
I'm waiting on this guy.
Yeah.
Boop, boop, boop. All right. We're just going to chill until this happens. And then you're comforting your mom. Right.
Yeah.
Like, what is it that took over? Right.
I mean, for me, it was, that, there is now a thing that the situation we are in is not tenable. It is not sustainable. It is not acceptable. We have to change the situation. And so,
yeah,
I don't, I just have a general.
And who's going to do it if I don't do it?
Yeah, I think for the most part. And also, she wasn't and isn't in a position. I mean, she's got an accident. She can't file the claim online. She can't even thumb her phone right now. She's so stressed out. And so,
yeah, but you could have just sat there and waited till someone came along to do it.
Yeah. And, and if I'm being honest, I went, in typical guy fashion, I went directly into stereotypically, I would say, because it is a stereotype, fix it mode,
yeah,
problem solving mode. And that works in a lot of cases.
Yep.
But what I neglected to do was sit with her after I got done calling highway patrol and taking pictures and talking to the construction guy and, photos of the car, blah, blah, blah. then I sat with her. Right. Because a part of that, for me, it wasn't traumatic. It was another problem to solve. For her, it was deeply traumatic. I mean, she told me she's having like flashbacks. And I don't know if I did a good enough job of sitting with her and being present.
Yeah.
And just helping her center herself and calm herself down. Yeah, if I'm looking back, that was maybe where I dropped the ball a little bit on that.
Well, you learned from it.
I did. And I think that is one of the biggest lessons for all of this stuff is, you know, I'm not saying we have a playbook for this, but and again,
there's no playbook
when you're in the
life,
moment,
man.
Just survive it. Just get through it. Get through it however you need to get through it. But if you don't want it to be a permanent brick in your backpack, you need to take a step back when it's over and you're safe and learn from it. Learn from it. Journal 5 things,
100%.
whatever. Talk to someone, counselor. We have to learn from these things. And I think through that learning is one of the ways that we get better and more resilient. But
I think so, man. You've got to apply the lesson too. That's the important. I mean, how many self-help books are read that no one actually applies this stuff?
Right. Like anger management. If you are, if you explode when you're interacting with your partner over trigger topics, it's not just about recognizing after the fact that you blew up. Can you recognize it in the moment? Have you grown enough and have you truly acquired new knowledge and tools to stop it when it's happening? That is something I have been working on quite a bit.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, I'm pretty hard on myself. I am very proud of the fact that I not every time, but more than not now, I can see my friend anger.
Good.
Right. Walking by the house.
Very good.
And I can wave to that friend and the
you flip them off.
You know, Anger, Cooling the Flames, that book. They talk a lot about waving to your old friend. Anger.
Yes.
And I can, you know, let that anger go by.
That's good. But see that the thing is, you're not purposefully putting yourself in these positions where you have to generate anger.
No, never.
But you are still learning from those things. So,
but that's the reality. The reality is that most of us are not going to go be like, well, Gene, I heard the podcast and I'm really, could you put me through 10 trials?
Yeah, it's not how it works.
They're going to get their own trials.
But you were talking about the light at the end of the tunnel. And I think this is where people make a mistake because they're looking for the light. They're looking for the solution down the road. Right. But the secret isn't, in my opinion, the secret isn't looking for the solution. The secret is in looking at your growth. Right. So the light at the end of the tunnel is what you just said. It's the ability for you to go, you know, I didn't do as well as I would hope I would, but I didn't do as bad as I used to do. Right. So I am improving. And that is the light at the end of the tunnel, because then you can say,
oh my God,
well, in a year, if I improve that much, I will be that much more of a better person.
I mean, that is
fucking awesome.
That is a giant idea that you just shared. This idea that the light at the end of the tunnel is it will never end.
No.
These things will always occur.
Here's the sad part. When the light at the end of the tunnel ends, you're in the ground, bro.
Yeah.
Like,
no, but I mean, like
over.
When the struggle, it will happen again. It's a guarantee. It's almost a guarantee.
You remember the story of The Matrix? You remember the movie The Matrix?
Yes.
When he was explaining to Neo, when Morpheus was explaining to Neo, that they were like, well, the first time they made the Matrix, they made it like Eden. Everything was perfect. And we all killed each other. So when we remade it, in order to keep us all docile, they made life have issues and problems. And that's when we all just got along and lived.
But
life has problems. It's always going to have issues. Life is nothing but a giant list of shit you have to deal with.
Yeah.
I know that's like, oh God, Gene, you're depressing. But what?
No. I mean, that is part of the problem, right? It's true. And we need to accept it. Dude. But this is incredibly powerful what you just said. The light at the end of the tunnel is your growth.
Yes.
And ability to handle these things when they come up.
You want happiness? Just celebrate some goddamn wins once in a while. We're all so focused on beating the shit out of ourselves. Like, oh, I suck today. And tomorrow's I'm going to suck too. Well, yeah, you probably will if that's the way you wake up, you know? Like if whatever you're looking for, you'll find.
So how does one learn from their struggles?
All the things you just said, you've got this is where all the other shit comes into play, like effort, discipline, practice, getting off your ass. Like if so, so
You're in rare form today.
thank
Man.
you,
I like
thank you.
this.
Well, I think about this stuff all the time. So, and I know I'm definitely going to sound like a TikTok, Instagram thing, but um, just like ChatGPT would write in today's society, they all start out that way. But but the thing is, let me back up a little bit. We're talking about like things seem a lot worse now than they seemed before. Even though I wasn't alive during World War II, I wasn't paying attention when Nixon stepped down. Like I wasn't paying attention when Kennedy got shot. Like I was little. I was in some cases I wasn't even around. And then we have like the Trump administration or whatever. And we're like, oh, this shit's terrible. It's always like compare those things, like those things I just said. World War II, Nixon stepping down, like Kennedy being assassinated, MLK being that's really fucking bad shit that's happening in politics. Like that stuff hasn't necessarily happened. The thing that I think differentiates us, and I know I'm going to sound like an online head here, but like it's that we have this shit in our faces 24/7, right? We have social media, we have all this stuff always in front of us. But the thing that we use it for isn't getting better. We're using it to escape life, right? Like, have you ever fallen asleep like scrolling?
No,
You never do that?
no.
You're a better man than me.
I actually don't scroll. I don't really look
But
at
you know people that do.
Sure.
Yeah. They're just like, or like you see people, they're like watching a movie and literally looking at the phone at the same time, like it's a whole thing where they're making movies now with that in mind, that people aren't actually watching the movie. A lot of people say that's why movies suck now, but like you're just like in this world of like trying to avoid reality, right? And that's what I think that's what people are doing. And so they're doing that instead of the things that those that came before us did, which was fucking deal with it. We talk about like what the greatest generation, what made them great? Like my dad could build a house, like I think about the things that it takes now to like, I mean, you're a handyman, right? You I've seen you built tables. You built the table out front and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So you're kind of gotten into that world, but I think there are things that we gain from doing that type of stuff.
Yeah.
Right. And this isn't a man or a woman thing. Like there are things that you can be doing that are like tactile, that bring you out of this that puts you in this real space of being in the world. Like I think about that. I think about like the greatest generation. I think about my dad. My dad could build a house with his bare hands. Like we used to live on a farm. He built like 3 entire barns with his bare hands, like by himself. Like he had me. I was like a 10-year-old, I'm like, well, hold the thing up. Well, he built fucking houses, like that is crazy.
Yeah.
Like for me to sit here now as a full grown man, 50 plus years old, I don't think I could build a house.
I think you could.
I don't know.
I think you could.
I've tried to build like a shed and it took me a long time.
But in between like client meeting and like a after school thing.
But that's my point. Like that's the world we live in. So your question is like, how do we build resiliency? How do we build grit? How do we learn from it? Like you listed off several things that you're doing: journaling, like paying the fuck attention. I have a mentor that says, pay attention, it's free. And he's so right, because I mean, we just don't pay attention.
Yeah.
We just don't. I'm rambling, but like these are things that we need to be doing.
How would you, if someone is like, hey, I'm really going through some shit. I would really like to figure out how to learn something from this. What would you say to them? How do you keep a positive
I've done
mindset?
This before. I have recently had a student miserably fail a rank test. And like, I love this gentleman so much. You have no idea. And it was like a giant test on me as well, to be like, I got to fail this dude,
Yeah.
like, but I didn't just fail him. So I said, like, hey, look, today's not your day, man. Like, it just, you can't do it. But what I want you to do is to go home and write 2 or 3 pages in a notebook or type it out or whatever and bring it back to me. I gave him an assignment about what happened and what you're going to do to make it better. Like, when you come back next time, what are the things you're going to do towards it doesn't happen again? And he did that. And he was like, geez, thank you for making me write that, because I learned so much about myself. And he said in the paper, he said, like, I learned so much about myself. I never take the time to think about my failures so that I can improve when the same thing happens again. And I'm like, that wasn't my idea, but like, yes,
I feel like
what we want.
I feel like there are 2 takeaways from what you just said. The first one is take the time to think about it and document it, write it down. And the other one, though, is share it with someone.
But how many times have you gotten, this is just generic, but you've gotten in an argument with your wife or whatever, and you just go to bed. You're like, I just hope this goes away by the time we wake up. and 90% of the time, maybe it does. But like, do you ever or you make a mistake with a client or whatever, and you're just like, solve the problem and then move the fuck on. But like, have you ever stopped to think like, well, why, what got me in that position?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, and what am I going to do to not be in that position again?
That's a thing I feel like we do organically, you and I, and with the design firm. Like I remember us having that conversation last week when we were dealing with this project that didn't go the way we wanted it to. It didn't go off the rails, but it just didn't go the way we wanted it to. And we were able to look back, take a pause, breathe, and say, okay, here's why this happened. We didn't do enough work on the front end and discovery and requirements so that expectation wasn't aligned with the deliverable, blah, blah, blah.
And so what you're doing is you're building your intuition for the next time.
Yeah.
Because there will be a next time.
Yeah.
Like, unless you just like, hey, you want to just quit doing this work altogether?
Yeah.
Well, guess what? We can't. This is what we do for a living.
But,
so we got to build that intuition bucket.
But I do want to go back in every situation, for me at least, where I have gone through some stuff. I have had someone to talk to about it. Yes. And I think that's a really important thing for
100%
how to not only survive it, but how to be in a better position for the next time this challenge, whatever challenge occurs. Like, I think you need to have people that you can talk to, whether that is a counselor, whether that's your partner, whether that is your friend network, whether that is a group of, folks that you barely know around the AA table.
More than one person.
Yeah, you need a tribe of.
You need more than one person, and you need more than the same type of person. You need different people in your life. You need like a board of directors for you.
Yeah, yeah.
I think I've stole that from somewhere. I've read that somewhere.
Yeah.
If you think about where that's from, let me know. But you almost need like a board of directors for you, and it needs to be diverse, not in a DEI sense, but I mean just like diverse outlooks. Diverse reasons for being there. Like, maybe one of them's your therapist that you pay for. Maybe one is a mentor that, you just like, try to emulate the way this person does. Maybe someone's a paid mentor. I've had those before.
Yeah.
And the value in something like a paid mentor, like in the case with Coach Divine, is he's giving me like exercises and things to think about before shit hits the fan.
Yeah.
This guy's trained SEALs to go to combat, but like he's giving me things to do to like, okay, what are you doing to build resilience? I don't know, dude. And he's like, well, here's 5 things you should try. Like, that's a good mentor. Another's just a friend.
Like, I think the one for me that is maybe the one, those all sound like you have to put work into developing them. I think having friends and just having a way to release if you have gone through something traumatic and stressful, whether it's work,
you need
personal,
that too.
You got to just be able to, like turn the valve.
Yeah.
And just let it all flow out.
Yeah.
Right. Not saying it won't flow back in, but at least just get it out and release it. And I think that's another important part about like overcoming obstacles is you got to release, whether that is exercise, whether that is just vomiting, whatever happened to someone who loves you enough to just sit there and listen.
That's
love
a good
or respects.
That's a good person to have too.
Yeah.
You also need that person that'll be like, yo, you need to suck this shit up.
Yeah. You also need someone who is going to be, it's going to be a conversation. Yeah. Folks, we'll see y'all next time.
Bye.
Bye. What the fuck was that?
I don't know. I'll cut it out.